Have you ever found yourself sitting alone in a quiet house? You look at the phone, and you realize that your wonderful children, who love you dearly, they're just so caught up in their own lives. They're juggling jobs, their own kids, the mortgage. And as much as they want to be, they simply can't be there at a moment's notice every time you might need them. That quiet moment. It's more than just loneliness. For millions of Americans over 65, it's a silent alarm bell. A startling study from AARP revealed that older adults experiencing this kind of isolation face a staggering 59% greater risk of physical decline. Think about what that means. A simple slip in the kitchen can become a life-altering event, simply because no one is there to help. But what if I told you that learning to rely less on your children is not only a gift to them, but it's the very key to you living a stronger, safer, and more joyful life? My name is Dr. David, and in my 30 years as a family physician, I've discovered that true independence in our golden years doesn't come from having kids on standby. It comes from building 4 unshakable pillars in your own life. I'm not talking about theory. I'll never forget my patient, John, a retired 78-year-old history teacher. One morning, he slipped on a rug and fell. He wasn't badly hurt, but he couldn't get himself up. He called his son, who was stuck in an important meeting 2 hours away. He called his daughter, who was struggling with a sick child. John lay on that floor for nearly 3 hours, feeling helpless and afraid. That moment, it changed everything for him. John's story has a happy ending, because that experience forced him to build the 4 lifelines I'm going to share with you today. These aren't vague suggestions. They are proven, practical strategies that anyone can start, whether you're 65 or 85. And please, make sure you stay with me until the very end, because the 4th pillar is the one most people completely overlook. Yet, neurologists suggest it might be the single most important factor in protecting your brain from decline. Everything we discuss is grounded in decades of clinical experience and reinforced by guidance from trusted institutions like the National Institute on Aging. So, before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of us have faced this feeling. If what I've just shared sounds familiar, please comment with a simple yes below. It shows others they are not alone. Okay, let's begin. Alright, so let's get into our very first pillar of independence, the one that forms the foundation for everything else. Pillar number 1. A rock-solid legal and financial plan. Now, the single most common mistake I see in my practice, the one that causes the most unnecessary heartache, is a simple thought. It's a thought born from love and trust, but it's an incredibly dangerous one. It's the thought that says, "Oh, my kids will handle everything when the time comes." We assume that because they love us, they will know what to do. But I'm here to tell you, as your doctor and your friend, that when the time comes is almost always too late. And that beautiful, loving assumption, it tragically transforms love into a heavy burden and family unity into chaos and conflict. Let's talk about the hard logic of this for a moment. In a medical crisis, when you are unable to speak for yourself, your wishes are silent unless you have given them a voice beforehand. Without 2 critical documents, a healthcare power of attorney and a living will, a doctor's hands are often tied. We are legally bound to preserve life, even in ways you might never have wanted. The heartbreaking reality is that the most important decisions about your body, about your life, could be taken out of the hands of the person you trust most and placed into the hands of a court system, of a judge who has never met you. And it's not just about health care. Imagine your bank accounts, the nest egg you worked for your entire life to build, suddenly being frozen. Inaccessible. Right when your family needs those resources the most to pay for your care or manage your affairs. It's a logistical nightmare piled on top of an emotional one. Now you might be thinking, "I'm healthy now, I'll get to it later." Here's the core reason why that is so dangerous, especially as we age. The hard, undeniable truth is that our cognitive health can change in an instant. A minor stroke you don't even feel, a sudden diagnosis, a simple fall that results in a head injury. Any of these can rob you of the clarity needed to make these sound decisions. You must create this plan while you are strong and clear-minded. You have to build the lifeboat before the storm hits, not in the middle of the raging sea. This isn't about being pessimistic. It's about being profoundly realistic and loving. What are the symptoms of not having a plan? They aren't physical, but they are devastating. I've seen them with my own eyes. right in the sterile hallways of the hospital. The symptoms are the fiery, tear-filled arguments between siblings in a waiting room, each one believing they know what mom would have wanted. It's the crippling financial stress that forces a son or daughter to choose between paying for their parents' care and their own child's college fund. And the most painful symptom of all is the deep, lasting guilt and regret that your children will carry, wondering for the rest of their lives if they made the right choice for you. That is a burden no parent ever wants to leave behind. I've witnessed this play out time and time again. I think of my patient, Susan, a wonderful woman, a retired librarian who loved gardening. When she fell gravely ill and couldn't communicate, her 2 children were left to decide. Her son, an optimist, wanted every possible medical intervention, every machine, every last effort to keep her here. Her daughter, however, remembered quiet conversations with her mother about wanting peace and dignity, and she felt strongly that her mom would not want to be kept alive artificially. Their disagreement didn't just cause stress, it fractured their relationship. They stopped speaking. The hospital became a battleground for their grief and confusion. It was a tragedy that was completely preventable. Then, I think of another patient, Robert. A former accountant, a man who loved order and planning. When he had a major heart attack, his daughter arrived at the hospital, calm and collected amidst the chaos. She carried a simple folder. In it was his healthcare power of attorney, clearly naming her as the decision-maker. It contained his living will, outlining exactly what he wanted in this very scenario. There was no guessing. There was no arguing. The doctors knew what to do. The family could focus on being with him, on holding his hand, on saying their goodbyes, not on fighting over his wishes. Robert had given his family the ultimate gift. He gave them peace. He gave them clarity. So, let's stop this cycle of procrastination right now. You do not need to call an expensive lawyer tomorrow. You can start this process in the next 10 minutes with a simple notebook and a pen. I want you to take that notebook and write down the answers to just 2 questions. Question number 1. Who is the one person in your life you trust, without a doubt, to make medical decisions on your behalf if you cannot? Write down their name. Question number 2. Think about your quality of life. What medical interventions would you want, or not want, to prolong your life? For example, would you want to be on a breathing machine indefinitely? Would you want a feeding tube? Be honest with yourself. Just answering these 2 questions for yourself puts you ahead of 90% of the population. It is the first, most crucial step. Once you have that clarity for yourself, the next step is to have a conversation with the person you named. This isn't a morbid talk. It is one of the most loving and empowering conversations you will ever have. You are not just creating a legal plan. You are preserving family harmony. You are protecting your legacy. Please, do it this week. Make clarity the greatest gift you give your children. If you agree that preparation brings peace of mind, just take a moment and comment with the word plan below. It's a small way to make a commitment to yourself and to inspire others here to do the same. Alright, now let's build on that foundation of clarity and move to our second, equally vital pillar. This is about the physical vessel that carries you through your golden years. Your body. Pillar number 2. Your personal health and wellness team. A very dangerous mistake I see many seniors make is living passively when it comes to their health. They rely solely on that one annual checkup, and they operate under the assumption that no news is good news. But after 60, that approach is no longer enough. It's like checking the oil in your car only once a year and hoping for the best on a cross-country road trip. To truly stay independent, you can't just be a passenger in your own healthcare. You must become the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, of your own body. Let's look at the hard science of why this is so critical. As we age, our bodies change in predictable ways. We experience something called sarcopenia, which is a fancy word for age-related muscle loss. It happens faster than you think. This loss of strength is precisely why a simple trip over a rug, something you would have easily recovered from at 40, can now result in a fractured hip at 70. A fractured hip is a major event that often marks the beginning of a loss of independence. At the same time, a silent enemy called chronic inflammation can be slowly wreaking havoc on our joints, our arteries, and even our brain. Proactive healthcare isn't a luxury. It is the absolute bedrock of maintaining your freedom and staying in your own home. The core reason this shift in mindset is so essential is that our bodies lose their bounce-back ability. Our resilience diminishes. When you were younger, you could pull an all-nighter, eat poorly, and feel fine the next day. Now, a simple head cold can linger for weeks and, in some cases, can escalate into pneumonia. Your body's systems just don't recover at the same speed and efficiency. That's why prevention is 1,000 times more powerful than a cure. We have to get ahead of problems before they start, because the consequences of falling behind are so much greater now. What are the symptoms of a passive health approach? They are subtle things you might be writing off as just getting older. Do you feel more tired than you used to? Do you find it a little harder to get up from a deep, comfortable chair? Do you ever feel a bit unsteady on your feet when you're walking? These are not normal, unavoidable signs of aging. They are signals. They are your body's early warning system, sending you messages that it needs more support, more attention. Ignoring them is like ignoring the check engine light on your car's dashboard. The evidence for being proactive is overwhelming. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, has shown conclusively that tailored exercise programs for seniors can slash the risk of falls by as much as 30 to 40%. That is a massive reduction in risk. This reminds me of my patient, Margaret, a lovely 76-year-old woman who was becoming a prisoner in her own home because of her painful, aching knees. She was afraid to go down the stairs. She had given up gardening. Instead of just prescribing another pain pill, I insisted she see a physical therapist. She was skeptical, but she went. 6 weeks later, she walked into my office with a huge smile, without her cane. She told me, with tears in her eyes, that she had just spent an entire afternoon on the floor playing with her grandchildren for the first time in years. That is the power of being the CEO of your health. So how do you do this? You start by building your team. Your personal health and wellness team. This isn't complicated. Your team has a few key players. Player number 1 is your family doctor, your primary care physician. Player number 2, and this is crucial, is a good physical therapist. They are experts in the mechanics of the aging body. Player number 3 is a pharmacist you know and trust. Not just a random person at a big box store, but someone who knows all the different medications you're taking and can spot potential conflicts. And player number 4 could even be a certified personal trainer at your local YMCA or senior center who specializes in working with older adults. Here is your concrete action step for this week. It's simple. I want you to call your doctor's office. Make an appointment, not because you're sick, but for a proactive reason. Ask your doctor for a referral for a fall risk assessment with a physical therapist. It's a simple evaluation to check your balance, strength, and gait. Most Medicare plans cover this. This single action can give you a personalized roadmap to improving your stability and confidence, keeping you safe and independent for years to come. This might be a new idea for some of you. If you've just learned something valuable about taking control of your health, let me know by commenting "wow" down below. It helps me see what resonates with you. Now that we've fortified your legal plans and your physical health, we need to address the pillar that protects your heart and your mind. Pillar number 3, your thriving social circle, your chosen family. We are raised to believe that our family is our primary social safety net. And for many of us, that is true and beautiful. But as we get older, that net can develop holes. Our children get consumed by their own demanding lives in other cities. Our dear friends from work or the neighborhood may move away or pass on. Relying solely on that original family net can become dangerously thin. And the result is an epidemic of loneliness. I want you to hear me clearly on this. Loneliness is not just a sad feeling. The former Surgeon General of the United States declared it a public health crisis, stating that its impact on your physical health is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The science behind this is fascinating and terrifying. When we feel socially isolated, our bodies flood with the stress hormone, cortisol. Chronic high cortisol leads to inflammation, which is a key driver of heart disease, stroke, and even dementia. It literally, physically, harms your body. Conversely, when we engage in positive social interactions, our brains release a wonderful hormone called oxytocin. This is often called the bonding hormone. It lowers blood pressure, reduces anxiety, and fosters a deep sense of well-being and security. Connection is not a nice to have. It is a biological necessity. The core reason this becomes so critical after retirement is the loss of built-in structure. For 40 or 50 years, your job provided a daily social environment. You had colleagues, clients, and routines. You didn't have to think about being social. It was just part of your day. When that structure vanishes, a vacuum is created. And if you don't actively, consciously work to fill that vacuum with new connections, that emptiness will be filled by isolation. It creeps in quietly until one day you realize the only person you've spoken to all day is the cashier at the grocery store. The symptoms of this social thinning are a profound sense of the days feeling long and empty. It's a loss of interest in hobbies you once loved because they feel pointless to do alone. It's that feeling of watching the world go by from your window, feeling completely invisible. These are not just signs of boredom. They are urgent warning signs of a dangerous deficit in your life. Let me tell you about Frank. Frank was a widowed engineer, a brilliant man who was fading away in his big, quiet house. He was deeply lonely after his wife passed. During a checkup, I didn't just ask about his blood pressure. I asked about his week. He admitted he hadn't left the house much. On a hunch, I suggested he check out the local community garden. He scoffed at first. "I'm an engineer, Doc, not a farmer." But he was desperate, so he went. Today, Frank has a whole new group of friends. They call themselves the Dirt Therapy Crew. They don't just grow tomatoes together, they look out for each other. Last week, when Frank didn't show up at the garden, one of his new friends drove by his house just to make sure he was okay. Frank wasn't just fine, he had simply overslept. But that small act of concern meant the world to him. That is a chosen family. Here is your mission, should you choose to accept it. Focus on quality, not quantity. You don't need 100 friends. You just need 3 or 4 reliable, meaningful connections. Your action step for this week is beautifully simple. I want you to pick one activity that you have even a tiny bit of interest in. It could be joining a walking group, a book club at the library, a bridge club, or a volunteer group at your church or local hospital. Then, I want you to commit to going just once. That's it. Just show up one time. You don't have to become best friends with anyone. The goal isn't to make a friend. The goal is simply to be in a place where friendship could happen. If you believe in the life-saving power of community and friendship, please show your support by commenting with the word friends below. And that brings us to our 4th and final pillar. The one I promised you. It's the one that's most often ignored, but it may be the most powerful of all for living a long, sharp, and vibrant life. Pillar number 4. A deep sense of daily purpose. We are a society that is obsessed with planning for retirement. We create financial plans. We get health screenings. We plan for everything except for one thing. What is our reason to get out of bed in the morning? For our entire adult lives, we are defined by our roles. I am a mother. I am a father. I am a teacher, a manager, a nurse, a builder. These roles give us a sense of identity and value. When retirement comes, that primary role is stripped away. And if we don't consciously replace it with a new source of meaning, we can be left with a profound sense of being invisible, irrelevant. Neuroscientists have a term for this. They call it cognitive engagement. The science is absolutely clear on this. When you have a purpose, something that challenges your mind, something you're learning, or a goal you're working towards, you are literally building a better brain. You are forging new neural pathways, like adding new roads to a map. This creates what scientists call a cognitive reserve. Think of it like a backup generator for your brain. Landmark studies have proven that people with a strong cognitive reserve can delay the onset of dementia symptoms, like those from Alzheimer's, even if the physical changes are already happening in the brain. Purpose is not just a feeling. It is a neurological defense system. The core reason this is so vital in our later years goes back to our most basic human need. The need to be needed. The need to contribute. When that feeling disappears, our spirit begins to wither. It is the root of so much of the apathy and depression I see in my retired patients. It's not the aging of their bodies that is defeating them. It's the aging of their purpose. What does a lack of purpose look like? What are its symptoms? It looks like endless hours of passively watching television. It feels like a general sense of apathy, where nothing seems exciting or interesting anymore. It's the sound of the phrase, "Well, there's nothing much to look forward to." When I hear a patient say that, it sets off alarm bells. It's a dangerous sign for both their mental and physical health, because the mind and body are inextricably linked. The evidence for the power of purpose is stunning. A famous long-term study from the Rush University Medical Center in Chicago followed a group of seniors for years. What they found was incredible. The people who reported having a high sense of purpose in life were 2.4 times less likely to die during the study period than those with a low sense of purpose. A sense of purpose was literally a predictor of longevity. This makes me think of my patient, Eleanor, an 82-year-old widow who felt her life was essentially over. She had lost her spark. I learned that she used to be an avid reader, so I suggested she volunteer at the local elementary school's reading program. She was hesitant, but she tried it. A month later, she came into my office as a different woman. Her eyes were bright. She stood up straighter. She told me, "Dr. David, those kids need me. Tuesday is my day, and it's the best day of my week." Eleanor wasn't just reading stories. She was living a new one. She had found her purpose. So I beg you, find yours. And please, hear me when I say this. Purpose does not have to be grand. You do not need to start a non-profit or save the world. Purpose can be found in the small, daily acts of living. Tending to a small garden on your patio. Taking your neighbor's dog for a walk while they're at work. Committing to mastering FaceTime or Zoom so you can see your grandchildren's faces. Deciding to finally write down your life story for your family. Your action step for this week is the most personal one of all. I want you to choose one small thing that gives you either a sense of joy or a sense of usefulness. Just one. And then, I want you to schedule it into your week, as if it were a doctor's appointment you cannot miss. Treat your purpose with that level of importance. Because it is. This is such a powerful concept. If you feel inspired to find or nurture your purpose, please share that energy by commenting with the word purpose below. As we come to the end of our time together, let's go back for a moment to the beginning. Let's remember my patient, John, the man who lay on his floor for 3 hours, feeling helpless and afraid. That experience could have been the end of his independence. But instead, it was a new beginning. Today, John is truly thriving. Why? Because he didn't just hope for the best. He built his own safety net, pillar by pillar. That rock-solid legal and financial plan we talked about? He sat down with his children and created one, bringing everyone peace of mind. To build his physical wellness team, he now attends a Tai Chi class twice a week, improving his balance and confidence with every slow, deliberate movement. For his social circle, his chosen family, he is now the proud organizer of the Friday morning coffee club for a group of fellow retirees. And that deep sense of purpose? He found it by tutoring a high school student in history, sharing his lifelong passion with a new generation. John took his fear, and he turned it into a fortress. He built his own support system, one loving, intentional brick at a time. His story brings us to the core lesson for today. True independence in our golden years does not mean needing no one. It means building a life so rich, so robust, and so well supported that you can rely on a whole system of strength, not just on one or two beloved but busy family members. It is the greatest gift of peace you can give to yourself, and the greatest gift of freedom you can give to the people you love. We've explored 4 critical pillars that can truly transform our later years. But knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important question for you. What is the one commitment you are making to yourself this week after watching this video? It could be as simple as, I will write down my wishes in a notebook, or I will look up that walking group at the senior center, or even just, I will call a friend I haven't spoken to in a while. Please, take a moment and share your personal commitment in the comments below. Reading them won't just inspire me, it will create a powerful wave of inspiration for every single person in this community. Let's help each other take that first brave step. And if our time together today brought you a measure of hope or clarity, please show your support by giving this video a like. To ensure you continue on this journey with us, and never miss another video full of this kind of practical wisdom, hit that subscribe button. It's more than just a click. It's a decision to join a community of people dedicated to living their best lives together. Finally, think of one person in your life. One friend, one family member, who needs to hear this message today. Please share it with them. You never know whose life you might touch. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take good care of yourself, and always remember, you hold the power to build the future you deserve. I'll see you in the next video.